Dylan Mathers had just finished writing his latest article for his small blog that covered obscure internet myths. This time, the topic was a strange story he found on a dark forum called Black Window 77. They said, if you dream of a woman standing outside your bedroom window with eyes that are completely black, no white, no emotion, then you have only 3 days before you die. 3 days. And the cause of death is always the same. Your body is found facing the window, with your eyes rotting, as if they were gouged out from the inside. Dylan laughed. Cheap urban legend. But the comments on the forum were strange. They weren't just believers. They sounded like they knew something other people didn't. One comment stood out. It read, "She comes on the first night just to introduce herself on the second night. She watches you on the third night. She comes inside." Dylan was intrigued, not because he believed it, but because it felt like perfect viral content. He saved all the screenshots, including one post from an anonymous user named BlindWindow23, who wrote, "Today is my third day. She's already inside. I can't type anymore." After saving his notes, Dylan shut his laptop and leaned back onto his bed. He was used to sleeping just before dawn, but tonight felt different. The air was cold. The hallway light outside his apartment flickered once, but he was too tired to care. 2:47 a.m. Dylan fell asleep. Then the dream came. He stood inside his own bedroom, but everything was silent. There was no sound, not even his own breath. And outside the apartment window, on the 16th floor, stood a woman. Her body was thin. Her white dress was soaked and mossy, but her eyes were pure black, motionless, unblinking, just staring, without feeling, without meaning, as if seeing through his soul. Dylan couldn't move. He couldn't scream. His body was frozen under her gaze. Then she lifted her hand and tapped her finger against the window. Tap, tap, tap. Dylan jolted awake. His heart was pounding, his breath ragged, but the dream still felt real, so real. He started to wonder, was it only a dream? He turned toward the window. Darkness, only the reflection of himself, but when he slowly stepped closer to shut the curtain, he saw it, 3 wet fingerprints pressed against the glass from the outside. Dylan stared at the fingerprints on the window. 3 distinct smudges, still fresh, still damp. His apartment was on the 16th floor. There was no balcony, no ledge, no way anyone could have touched the outside of that window. He blinked, rubbed his eyes, looked again, still there. He stepped back. His heart was pounding. His mind raced, trying to convince itself it was just residue. Maybe condensation, maybe a prank. But that was a lie. He knew it. Something about the way they were placed too deliberate. 3 fingers, right where the dream woman tapped the glass. He didn't sleep again that night. The next morning, Dylan barely spoke. He skipped his usual routine, avoided his emails, and didn't update his blog. Instead, he sat in front of the window, watching, waiting. Nothing. The daylight made it easier to doubt himself. Maybe it had been a dream. Maybe the prints were from earlier, some maintenance worker. A trick of humidity. He even tried wiping them away, but the glass didn't smudge, didn't budge. The prints didn't fade. They were part of the window now. That evening, Dylan decided to visit his friend Kaylee. She was a psychology major, someone who always thought rationally, even when the topic was ghosts or conspiracy theories. He showed her the forum posts, the screenshots, even told her about the dream. She laughed at first. Sleep paralysis, classic symptoms, and you've been reading horror stories all night. Come on, Dylan, it's your own fault. But the fingerprints, condensation. You said it yourself. The hallway lights flickered, probably electrical imbalance. Your brain took that as a cue for a nightmare. He wanted to believe her. He really did. But something in his gut told him this wasn't sleep paralysis. It wasn't stress. It was real. That night, he returned home before midnight, Every sound in the hallway felt louder than usual. He locked the door, closed every curtain, left the lights on. He even placed salt along the windowsill just in case. He didn't believe in that kind of thing. But tonight, belief wasn't the point. It was survival. He forced himself to stay awake. 2:00 2, 15, 2:30. His head nodded once, twice. Then darkness. When he opened his eyes, he was still in his room. But it wasn't the same. It was the dream again. He stood by the bed. Everything was silent. No wind. No hum of the city. And outside the window, she was there again. But closer this time. Last night, she had been standing several feet away. Tonight, her face was right against the glass. So close, he could see the fine cracks in her skin. Her black eyes never blinked, never moved. Her mouth opened, not wide, just slightly. A whisper came through the glass, but it wasn't a voice. It was a breath, cold, wet, rotten, and then 3 slow taps again. Tap, tap, tap. But this time, she smiled. Dylan screamed. He woke up instantly, but he wasn't in bed. He was standing, facing the window, and when he looked down, the salt line had been broken. 3 wet fingerprints had reappeared, and this time, they were on the inside of the glass. Dylan didn't sleep for the rest of the night. He stood frozen for nearly an hour, staring at the 3 fingerprints on the inside of his window. His hands trembled. His thoughts spiraled. How could anyone have gotten in? The door was locked. The windows were sealed. There were no signs of forced entry, and yet she had been here, not in a dream, not in his imagination, here, inside. He turned on every light in the apartment, checked the closets, under the bed, the bathroom, the hallway. Nothing, no one, but the apartment didn't feel empty. It felt watched. The next morning, Dylan didn't go to work. He didn't open his laptop. He didn't even shower. He just sat on his bed, facing the window. His phone buzzed with missed calls, messages from Kaylee, his editor, his brother. He didn't answer. Instead, he started recording. He placed his phone on a small tripod, aimed at the window, and hit record. Maybe if he caught her on video, he could prove to himself he wasn't losing his mind. Time passed slowly. The sun set, and with every minute, his dread grew heavier. Around p.m., Dylan finally picked up his phone and called Kaylee. She was inside. He whispered. Kaylee sighed. Dylan, I didn't imagine it. The prints were inside this time. She was here while I was asleep. There was silence on the line. You didn't sleep again, did you? She asked. No. You can't keep doing this to yourself. Dreams bleed into reality if you don't rest. You know that. Just take something, melatonin, wine, whatever. Dylan shook his head. She's coming closer. Kaylee paused, then said, quietly, I'll come over tomorrow, okay? I'll bring coffee. We'll watch a movie. You need someone there. Dylan nodded, but he wasn't sure tomorrow would come. That night, he set up 3 phones, one recording the window, one pointed at his bed, one pointed at the hallway. He laid down, fully dressed, eyes open, 2:38 a.m., 2:46, 2:50. His eyes grew heavy, then darkness, and then cold. He was standing again. But this time, the dream was different. The apartment was empty, silent. The lights flickered slowly. The air was thick and damp. She was no longer outside. She was inside the room, standing near the edge of the bed, facing him. Her long black hair clung wetly to her face. Her white dress trailed across the floor like mist, and her hands were red, freshly red, as if they had been inside something alive. Her black eyes didn't blink. She took one step forward, then another, until her face was only inches away from his. She raised her hand, not to tap the glass, but to touch his cheek. Her fingers were freezing. wet, rotten. When she opened her mouth, Dylan heard nothing, but in his mind, a voice echoed. "One more night," he gasped and woke up on the floor. His bed was soaked, not with sweat, with water, and the phones. All three were turned off, their batteries completely drained. He ran to the window. The fingerprints were gone, but in their place, written in small streaks of fog, were two words: last night. His breath caught in his throat. The condensation faded slowly, but the message was clear. This was his final night, his last chance. Whatever happened next, he wouldn't wake up from it. The weight of those two words was crushing. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He simply sat down on the floor and listened to the silence around him. The air in the apartment had changed, colder, still, like everything inside had stopped breathing except him. By morning, he was still there, still alive, but barely holding on. At 7:12 a.m., Kaylee showed up. She knocked, then rang the bell, then knocked again louder. No response. "Dylan, open up. It's me." When he finally opened the door, his eyes were sunken, his skin pale, and his lips dry and cracked. Kaylee gasped when she saw him. "You look like you haven't slept in days," she whispered. "I haven't," Dylan replied, "and I can't." She stepped inside and froze. The air was freezing, unnatural, and heavy. "Why is it so cold in here?" she asked. Dylan didn't answer. Instead, he pointed toward the window. "She left me a message." Kaylee looked. There was nothing there now, just clear glass and city skyline. "Dylan, there's nothing there." Dylan turned to her. "It said last night. She's coming. Tonight?" Kaylee exhaled slowly. "Okay, you're staying up tonight, and I'm staying with you. I don't care how crazy this sounds, I'm not leaving you alone." Dylan wanted to argue, but part of him was grateful. He didn't want to die alone. That night, they prepared. Kaylee set up motion sensors near the window and the door. Dylan replaced the dead phones with new ones, fresh batteries, constant recording. He even downloaded a motion detection app. They armed themselves with flashlights, salt, incense, anything they could think of. "Just humor me," Dylan said. "Even if this is all in my head, I'm already here. Aren't I?" Kaylee smiled weakly. Midnight came. Then 1 a.m. Then 2. No sound, no movement. Dylan felt a sharp pain in his chest, anxiety tightening its grip. And then it began. 2:46 a.m. The lights dimmed. One of the motion sensors chirped. Then the temperature dropped instantly. Kaylee shivered. Her breath became visible. Dylan stood up. He could feel her. "She's here," he whispered. Then they heard it. Tap, 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 but not on the window, on the inside of the bedroom door. Kaylee froze. "That wasn't you?" she asked. Dylan shook his head slowly. Then the lights shut off. Total darkness. They scrambled for the flashlights. The door slowly creaked open. And standing there, in the doorway, was the woman, her head tilted unnaturally, her skin pale and wet, her eyes infinite black. Kaylee screamed. The woman stepped into the room. Her feet made no sound. Her arms were raised slightly, as if reaching for something unseen. The phones started recording on their own. The flashlight beams flickered. The air pressed down like 1,000 hands. Dylan stood between her and Kaylee. "You can't have her," he said. The woman paused for the first time. She looked confused. Then something changed. She tilted her head slowly toward Dylan, and she smiled and whispered, "You saw me. You heard me. Now you belong to me." The lights exploded. The room went black, and Dylan screamed. Then silence. When Kaylee opened her eyes, it was morning. The sun was rising, but Dylan was gone. Only the salt circle remained, and written on the window in frost, he dreamed. You watched. You're next. Kaylee stood frozen in Dylan's apartment. The sun was up. The room was lit with morning light, but it felt wrong. Empty. Dylan was gone. There was no blood, no signs of a struggle, just his phone, still recording, sitting where he last stood. The salt circle was undisturbed, and the window bore that haunting message he dreamed. You watched. You're next. Kaylee tried to breathe, but her lungs refused to fill. She grabbed Dylan's phone, stopped the recording, and pressed play. The footage showed everything. The flickering lights, the tapping, the door opening, the black-eyed woman entering the room. But something was wrong in the footage. Dylan didn't stand between Kaylee and the figure in the video. He never moved at all. He was sitting, frozen, staring at the woman as she slowly approached him. And Kaylee, she wasn't screaming. She wasn't even in the frame. She was missing. Kaylee stared at the screen. Her own memory didn't match what the camera recorded. And in the last seconds of the video, the woman looked directly into the lens and smiled. The screen went black. Kaylee threw the phone across the room. She ran out of the apartment, down 16 flights of stairs, into the early morning streets. She didn't stop until she was back home, locked inside, lights on, curtains drawn. That night, she didn't sleep, not out of fear, but because she couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard the whisper, "You're next." 3 nights passed. On the 4th night, she gave in. She had to sleep just for an hour. She took melatonin, dimmed the lights, played soft music. 2:31 a.m. Her apartment grew cold, her windows fogged, and in her dream, she stood inside a hallway, a long, endless hallway lined with mirrors. Each mirror showed a different version of her. One was crying, one was screaming, one was laughing, and one had black eyes. That one smiled. The mirrors shattered, and behind her, she heard it. Tap, tap, tap. She turned. The woman was there, closer than ever. But this time, Kaylee didn't freeze. She stepped forward. "Who are you?" she demanded. The woman's mouth moved, slowly, as if unused to speech. Then she whispered, "You watched, you believed. Now you carry me." Kaylee woke up gasping. Her mirror across the room was cracked, and on the glass, drawn in condensation, were 3 wet fingerprints. The dream had spread. The curse had passed from post to reader, from witness to believer. Dylan was never the only victim. He was the first. If you've made it this far, if you've pictured her standing at your window, if you've dreamed about black eyes in the dark, don't go to sleep tonight, because now you carry her too.